Video games and robots go together like steak and potatoes. So why is it taking so long for the 360 to get its first robotic romp? Could it be that Japanese publishers have been slow to support the platform? Or is it just too early to expect these types of games? Either way, we'll take one chromehounds over 10 versions of Gundam.
Two of the world's superpowers faced off in lockstep.
The story in Chromehounds may hit a little too close to home for us Yanks. The story follows a group of rogue mech mercenaries working for the highest bidder. They take no sides in a world energy conflict that involves backdoor deals, blood for oil, and even insurgent groups hoping to toss the invaders out of their country. Basically, it's a mirror image of the conflict currently taking place in Iraq, and will likely ruffle a few feathers. As far as stories in video games go, it can be difficult to follow at times with its fictional territories, and it's a bit cliched, but there have certainly been worse. If you're buying Chromehounds to be taken on some magical journey through an anime-inspired world where giant robots rule the galaxy, you're going to be very surprised. This is a simulation in the vein of MechWarrior. There are 6 different classes of mechs, with each having a specific role in battle. The soldier has to use massive firepower on the front line to crush the enemy's offensive charge. The sniper sits on hilltops, taking down any robot dumb enough to leave cover. The defender spends most of his time at your base, thwarting any attacks. The scout is the fastest of all the mechs, allowing it to gather recon. The heavy gunner uses artillery to strike the enemy base, and the tactics commander hangs back to look at the big picture while barking orders. No matter what kind of player you are, you'll find a role in Chromehounds to suit you. Building your machine can take a while until you get the handle on the interface. It can be confusing figuring out which order to stack your parts so that they all fit together, are functional, and don't leave you out to dry where defense is concerned. There are thousands of parts, resulting in literally millions of combinations, and the best way to see if your creation is worthy is to take it onto the field. This elongated form of trial and error can be a bit unnerving for the impatient. Luckily, there are some pre-constructed robots that you can use and tweak instead. Where modes are concerned, don't expect to get a great deal of playtime out of the single-player option. It's split into 6 parts, with each one concentrating on one of the mech classes. This gives you a nice background into how to play with each machine type, but the missions, which are built up as epic in the briefings, amount to little more than capturing a couple of radio towers or turning a few mechs and tanks into scrap. The production values for the single-player mode are also a little suspect, with plenty of maps and stiff narration used in place of actual cinemas. You'll have completed the single-player option in no time flat, but it's really just there to supply you with new parts and prepare you for the real Chromehounds, online. To call the online component of Chromehounds robust would be to sell it way short. You'll have problems finding a more complete online experience in any genre. You begin by creating or joining a squad, Chromehounds' version of the clan. Up to 20 people can be in a single squad, but only 6 can fight in a battle at once for a total of 12. There are 3 main online modes: Neuroimus War, Individual Missions, and Free Battle. The Neuroimus War plays a lot like the board game Risk. It's all about selecting one of 3 countries and attempting to take over the rest of the territories. Just to let you know how intense this mode can be, each game is capped at a maximum of 2 months. In addition to managing the strategy, there's also a huge monetary angle that'll allow you to develop new weapons for your clan. This mode is going to be highly dependent on how many people buy the game. If the online community isn't there, then it's a snore. If your funds are getting low in the Neuroimus War, you can always check down to the individual missions to build some cash. Without having to pay for repairs for your machines, you can never lose money, even if the enemy puts its steel boot firmly in your robotic butt. This acts as a nice catch-all to ensure that the game remains fairly balanced. For those who want some quick-hit fun, there's always the free battle option that you can set up however you like. With 7 different modes to choose from, ranging from standard capture the flag and deathmatch options to territory holding modes, there's no shortage of ways to drop mechs to their knees. While the single-player option of Chromehounds is a glorified tutorial, one has to wonder if the online modes are almost overkill. While it would have been nice to see an equally hefty single-player campaign, there's no need to penalize for being thorough. And as long as you have a broadband connection and Xbox Live, there are enough options in this persistent online world to keep you busy for months.
Hurry up and destroy their headquarters.
The first thing you'll notice when playing Chromehounds is that the mechs appear to move incredibly slow. When you're staring at a good 3 miles of open terrain in front of you, 20 miles per hour is a snail's pace. Even the Scout class, which is supposed to be speedy, has trouble escaping a volley of missile fire from the slowest of machines. The weapon setup is unique in that you can choose to fire each of your weapons separately, or you can let loose with all of them at once in a barrage of weaponry that is practically impossible to avoid. We recommend the latter option if you hope to survive in close combat online. Otherwise, the game plays very much like a typical first-person shooter. One analog stick controls movement, while the other handles aiming. You can press down the right stick to go into sniper view, and there's a map overlay that allows you to see the entire battle while still avoiding becoming vulnerable. As you might expect, the weapons variety is impressive, but it can be incredibly difficult to land shots with missiles or grenades without a lock-on function. If anything, the game is slanted a little too much towards snipers, with a predominantly open terrain and the power of the weapons. Chromehounds isn't for the mech assault crowd who enjoys fast-paced, Twitch-style gameplay. It's much more for those who like to plan and execute, and those who are willing to fulfill a role on a team. With so much customization and parts galore, Chromehounds is the Gran Turismo of mech games. There's so much to tweak and test out that creative types can fiddle with it for days. It's also a very calculated, sterile simulation that's low on flash and high on content. Hardcore mech fans should buy it without hesitation, but if you don't have Xbox Live, or are just looking for the next big action game for the 360, be sure to give it a rent before dropping the cash.